Hi everyone, I am Golnush Hakim Devar, your professor for qualitative methodology. I'm recording this video to give you a brief explanation of what it means to write a qualitative research question. As you're going through and reading about different methodologies, it is important for you to continue thinking about your own topic on law and policy and how you will formulate your research question. Your research question will set the base for how you will conduct your research, but it is really a relationship that goes constantly in struggle. How you will determine your methodology will continue to shift and change your research question. On the other hand, how you write your research question will continue to change and impact your methodology. So it's a bond between your methodology and your research question. Now, what does it mean to write a research question that is qualitative? As you have been reading this week about what qualitative descriptive is, you have also been covering what qualitative phenomenological research is. You have become familiar with epistemological research. So we are looking at, when we talk about the epistemology, we're thinking about really focusing on rationality, language, knowledge. So these are the concepts that are hidden within the epistemological approaches. Let's step back and think about Plato. What did Plato really want to understand? He attempted to understand what it means, what it is to know. What does knowledge mean? And then expanding that further to see what does knowledge mean for that who knows, for the knower. Not pure opinion, not mere opinion, but knowledge. Gaining knowledge and how does that impact the knower, the individual who has gained knowledge. So that is Plato's epistemological approach. Now, there are many different ways of looking at epistemology, but what we really want to keep in mind is that as you're conducting your qualitative research, you're thinking about rationality, reason, perception, cognition, sensory experiences. We'll break those down a little bit further and simplify it some more in terms that can be used for your research question. But as you read the material and think about your topic qualitatively, those are the terms that you want to be exploring. Not all at once, but see where it fits in. It's important on a practical sense for you to think about your topic, come up with a perception that you have for an outcome of your topic. If you are thinking about, I am going to propose a certain policy, that is your perception and your outcome. That is not your research question. That policy proposal is going to be what will be the final result of your thesis and your research. So take that as your final outcome and as the purpose of your research, and work backwards and see, what do I need to show? How do I need to, what material do I need? What type of research do I need to conduct in order to arrive at introducing at this outcome, at introducing at this potential policy outcome? Okay, so a qualitative research question. How is it written? Well, that word, how, that's one way that you can start a qualitative research question. How or what? A form of discovery. So your research question could actually have the words discovery. What happened in a certain situation? So what you are trying to show is how and what and an open-ended situation that has really left you with a chance to explore a phenomenon. That should really be what the research question is writing. So what are the words that you can use to explain your thoughts? You can say, you can use words such as, this research will explore, or this research will be looking at the feelings of a certain group or views of a certain group. You may be looking at understanding a situation, exploring and interpreting another situation, constructing an explanation for another phenomenon. So those are the terms that you can use to really play around with and write a qualitative research question. Now, your qualitative research question should be simple. It should be straightforward. It should not be too complicated for the readers to understand. It should also, aside from giving a very clear demonstration that it is exploratory, that it is discovery of a certain phenomenon, it should also be specific to a target audience, target group. So who is the target group that you're going to explore and look at? It should also be looking at the timeline that you will be focusing on. If it's a case, you need to specify what's the case. Here are several examples of research questions that perhaps can help you as you move forward with writing your research question. I'm going to give you, this is from previous DLP students, and I'm going to break down the question to help us move forward with writing our own question. All right, so this research question asks, what is the lived experience of community stakeholders during the emergency management response, recovery, and transitional phases from Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria? And does it identify a disconnect between top-down federal and state policies and community resilience through social capital? Okay, let's break down this question. This question is looking at the lived experience. So there you go. That's one of the key phrases that we use in qualitative research, lived experience. It immediately identifies who we're targeting, community stakeholders during an emergency management response. Now, what further information do we know about these community stakeholders is that they were part of the management response team, they were part of the recovery team, and they were also part of the transitional phases. So you immediately know that this research will look at, perhaps talk to, explore, discuss, interview the community stakeholders who have gone through this experience. But it is even more specific. Not only have they lived through this experience in general, but they have lived it in a very particular timeline, which is during the three hurricanes, Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Now, so we know a lot already by reading this part of the research question. It is then broken down even further to how it identifies a disconnect. So now this is the perception, right? The researcher is telling us that, in this case, she sees a disconnect between top-down federal and state policies and community resilience through social capital. So that's the perception that the researcher has, and she's going to explore it further with using this case study, right? Working with the stakeholders. So using the case studies that we mentioned, Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria, to explain that perception. She may find that her perception is correct, or that she can support that perception in a positive way, or she can deny that perception. But that's the final outcome of the thesis. The point is that she has laid out very well a research question that tells us exactly what she's going to do and how she is going to conduct this research. Here's another research question to help you maybe think in a different way. This is a two-part research question. Actually, the original is four, there are four sub-questions or three sub-questions, but I'm going to only look at the first two. The main research question reads, how are human research directors in small colleges utilizing cyber vetting in the recruitment selection process? That's the main question. The sub-question is, do small colleges have cyber vetting policies? And if so, What do they say, and how do colleges ensure compliance? This is a two-part question. The first part is telling us our target group, right? Human research directors in small colleges. Then we get a further explanation about this target group. They have some experience utilizing cyber vetting in the recruitment selection process. So they are active in the recruitment selection process, and two, they utilize cyber vetting. The second part of the question takes us further into focusing on policies. So it asks, of the same group, do small colleges, remember we're looking at the human resource directors, and now we're looking at kind of documentation. Do small colleges have cyber vetting policies? And if so, what do they say, and how do colleges ensure compliance? So it's an action-based research. It's one, discovery, and two is action. What's important to keep in mind here is that the questions are very much related to one another, so question and sub-question. What is also important to note is that this particular research could take on several different methodological directions for how the data is collected. It could be a case study, or it could be a phenomenology, as cyber vetting is a phenomenon that the researcher then further explains as he moves forward with the research. So again, it is important to be very specific, to identify the target that you're going to be focusing on, that researching, that you are going to be engaging with your research. It's also important to really clarify the timeline, the time frame that you're going to be focusing. Remember, qualitative research is very specific. We're not intending on drawing conclusions or inferences about a much larger group. We're looking at really diving deep into a particular situation.